Thanks. Welcome to everyone joining in person this evening and those viewing remotely at home. The board held an executive session on February 12th and prior to this meeting regarding personnel. Board members with an agenda before you, are there any changes? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to ask the board secretary for a roll call of board members.
Dr. Bader?
Here.
Dr. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Brandt? Here. Dr. Demo?
Here.
Ms. Huff?
Here.
Mr. Colby?
Here.
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Great, thank you very much. We'll start off with communications. Mr. Johnson's going to share a superintendent update.
Okay, thank you. As you may have seen, action item number 11A regarding approving Delta ATMs was removed from tonight's agenda. We paused the process because state educational requirements mandate a minimum of 990 instructional hours per year for students in grades 7 to 12. When reviewing these requirements, we discovered that when factoring in 6 ATM days, as well as a new approach to snow days of having 3 possible days that would not be made up, Delta Middle School students in grades 7 and 8 would fall short of the needed instructional hours. Unfortunately, ATMs do not meet PDE's, or Pennsylvania Department of Education's, standard for instructional hours, just as lunch periods and recess do not. I realize that ATMs are important to Delta's culture. Therefore, we have asked John Downs to consult with the Delta community to consider making adjustments to the daily schedule to meet the instructional hours required. Once this review process has been completed and the instructional hours have been solidified, we will bring back a recommendation for ATMs to the board for approval. On another note, you're invited to join Community Conversations, a panel event aimed at addressing concerns around youth mental health within State College community on Tuesday, March 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the State Theater. SCASD Director of Student Services, Stephanie Beaver, who helped coordinate the event, will be on the panel of experts working in the field of youth mental health in schools and community. Hosted by the State College Borough and the Center for Alternatives and Community Justice, this event is meant to provide the audience with increased knowledge about SCASD, Penn State, and the community's current programming for managing youth mental health concerns. There also will be opportunities for the audience to pose questions, concerns to the panelists. Additionally, congratulations to Radio Park Elementary School's second grade teacher, Kate Hallinger, for receiving the Penn State College of Education Alumni Society's Outstanding New Graduate Award. This award recognizes recent graduates who have distinguished themselves in their careers. College of Education Dean Kimberly Lawless wrote to Hollinger, "Being nominated and selected for this honor marks you as an individual of extraordinary achievement and potential." Kate can now add the honor to the Pennsylvania Council of Mathematics Teacher's New Teacher Award presented to her 8 years ago. Keep up the great work in the classroom, Kate. Congratulations.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we have Student Representative Ryan Brown's going to provide us with several student initiative updates.
Thank you. Is my mic on?
I think so.
Yep, you're good.
We would like to invite the public to join Roots of Life for their inspiring annual performance, Building Our Beloved Community, on Sunday, February 23rd. This free event celebrates African culture and community through music and performance featuring traditional African drums and rhythms. This gathering promises to be a vibrant celebration of unity and cultural heritage. The performance will take place at 3 p.m. in the small auditorium at State High. Don't miss this opportunity to be a part of a meaningful community celebration that bridges traditions and brings people together. Free admission makes this enriching cultural experience accessible to all. We are excited to share a new Positive Behavioral Interventions and Support, or PBIS, district partnership with 4 local businesses: Discovery Space, Growing Tree, The Makery, and SCLO Library. Now elementary students observing observed demonstrating star behavior while shopping, creating, or spending time in any of the aforementioned businesses can now earn a special Green Star ticket that can be turned back in their respective schools for building-specific acknowledgments. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. I'd also like to welcome our Boy Scout troop joining us this evening. I know it's hard on a school night to get out, so welcome. I hope you learn a lot. Jackie, we have legislative update next. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's your last meeting, Ryan, tonight with
Yes.
us? Okay. Well, on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your time and commitment to be here as a student rep these past 4 meetings. I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable.
Thank you.
Then I'll move on to Jackie.
All right, just briefly, Governor Shapiro did release his proposed budget. Mr. Brown's going to be going through a presentation in an upcoming meeting to really dive into it. But just a few highlights from that proposal includes like a big $494 million in adequacy funding, which is 11% of the identified gap. $32 million in tax equity funding that would go to the 50 districts with the highest local property tax efforts. Full disclosure, we don't qualify for any of that money. He's also increasing the basic education funding. We're proposing to increase it by $70 million, which is really just a 0.9% increase. So it really wouldn't even cover inflation. However, to kind of dovetail with that effort, he is proposing charter funding reforms that would save school districts $278 million. So we will be hearing more about that from Mr. Brown in an upcoming meeting. The other thing I wanted to mention is that PSBA has announced that their Spring Advocacy Day will be May 13th in 2025. It's fun. I'm going. If you want to carpool, we can. So think about coming to Advocacy Day. It's really great to talk to our legislators and just to like interface with other school boards across the state. So that's my plug. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Maybe you can email us a reminder so we make sure to put it on our calendar. Next up, we have Center Region Council of Governments. Gretchen?
So there has not been a general forum meeting since the last COG report, but there was a Climate Action and Sustainability Committee which met on February 10th. And there were 3 things that happened in that meeting. The first is that there was a student presentation. Ben Henry, a Penn State master's student in meteorology and atmospheric sciences, presented on the work he has completed on anticipated climate impacts in the center region. This was interesting because mostly these are done at the state level or the national level, but he focused just on the center region, what will happen here in his predictions. He conducted a climate projection for the center region, and it was a final project in a course he took this past semester, which was meteorology, climate system dynamics. So his study examines the impacts of climate change here through 2099. He covered topics related to the changes in specific humidity, precipitation, air temperature, and vapor pressure deficit, and discussed the local impacts that are relevant to anybody who lives here, all residents. Notably, he found that the number of days the center region gets more than 3 inches of rain will increase over the next 50 years. And he had slides that were really interesting because the slides showed 1.5 inches of rain, and many of our local roads were flooded, and that was with half of the amount that he's predicting we will have more days of. And also, he predicts that the number of days that are warmer than 90 degrees Fahrenheit will increase over the next 50 years. So overall, more extreme weather, and especially in the summer months. So that was interesting too. It wasn't all the seasons where he was finding these changes. It was mostly in the summer. So it was really interesting. After this, he's going to work in New York for an insurance company and do risk assessment. And it just made me think that at the local level, it's on us as local leaders to incorporate this thinking into the facilities we build, the placement, all the questions that Peter Buck normally asks are going to start to be asked ubiquitously. And so that was interesting. And it'll be also, we should take it into account for cost, because the energy bills that we will have based on the choices we make today in our facilities will be long lasting and have an impact indefinitely as long as the building exists. So that's just one example. Another example is real estate. So now things like Zillow have a climate score as well, and that came from consumer demand, that people want to know what the risk will be in climate changes for the house they buy, for example. So we're seeing it more and more. I did ask Mr. Henry, are these types of, people who provide these services, like firms, are we seeing more and more of them? And he said yes. Sometimes it'll just be an architect that'll maybe plug it in, but not at the level of detail that someone like Mr. Henry would be able to provide. So it was really interesting, and the slides he showed of that rain were, I think, almost emotional for how destructive that was. And again, that was half of what he predicts we will have an increase of. The second thing is Pam Adams, the Sustainability Director for the Council of Governments, provided an update, sort of a progress report on CAP, the Center Region Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. And the CAP Implementation Technical Advisory Group developed a prioritization matrix for ranking the 82 actions in the CAP, and have identified priority actions that are 1, impactful, 2, easy to accomplish, meaning finding where there is overlap between where local government can act versus the capacity for the best outcome and impacts, what local government can do. 3, priority actions that are in the control or influence of local government. And when I say local government, I mean all local entities, including SCASD, of course. The TAG continues to work on developing the CAP progress report that will include 1, an introduction to the 2023 greenhouse gas emissions inventory, including an inventory comparison between 2016 and 2023. This is why it's so important that in our master plan that I think we're going to be getting an update on our facilities master plan in the next month or two, because all of the other entities are participating in this. And so we're getting a good inventory of greenhouse gas in our area. But if SCASD is missing, that's going to be significant, and we won't have a complete picture. So it's really important work that they're doing, and we're, I think the entire community will benefit from our inclusion into that inventory. Let's see, 3, the progress and accomplishments, and 4, priority actions and implementation strategies, and then next steps. So that's the progress report for what they're working on. I believe Dr. Buck is on that committee as well. And then the third thing is that, and I keep talking about this, but it's about to actually start, our area, the center region, will have a new we have a new refuse contract, meaning your trash will change. So for anybody who hasn't thought about this yet or heard about it, it will start officially, the new company, on April 1st. The new bins will be delivered between February 17th and March 21st. Carts will come with 2 cart hangers detailing where and how to situate carts to ensure collection, materials that cannot be placed in the cart, how to change cart sizes and dispose of old trash cans, and who to contact for any assistance or information. You are not supposed to use your cart until April 1st. Residents will receive their first invoices for the new contract in the mail from the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority by mid-March, and both the cart hangers and the invoices will indicate the day of collection for each individual property. They are predicting that most areas will have the same trash collection days we currently have, but there will be a few that might change. And that is all I have for the COG report.
Great, thanks very much. We now have time for public comment. Each individual will be allotted up to 3 minutes for items related to board business that are not a consent or action item this evening. For those items, public comment will be held just prior to voting on that item. I think we are using our new sign-up process, so we do have one person that signed up in advance to give public comment this evening. Leonard Hazel, if they're here and would like to come up to the podium, you can give your name and where you reside in the district. And you're welcome to have right up here. Sorry, friend. That's okay. That's the one that's on. And you'll have 3 minutes. Thanks.
My name is Leonard Hazel. I have 2 boys in Park Forest Elementary. And my thing is, I grew up in SCASD. We had 3 allotted snow days. Now we have this instead of books. why can't we go virtual on the other snow days instead of tacking longer days on at the end of the year? That's number one. Number two, I think you guys should have like Fulton Trailways, the other Browns busing and all that, more training, because this afternoon my son came home after the bus driver dropped him off. He just shut the door for Fulton Trailways and just took off. My son was walking across the street. A car nipped him in the foot, and he's badly bruised, and there's something going on with his growth spurt plate in his ankle. Them's the two things I would like to address, if possible.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in person to make public comment? Do we have anyone online? Okay. That'll conclude public comment for this evening. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. This includes several items we'll address in a single motion for approval, and we'll go through each category stepwise. Any corrections or problems with the minutes? Okay. Next, we have finance and personnel section. We have some routine bills and budget transfers, human resource recommendations, and routine technology contracts. No questions or problems? All right. Student overnight travel is in the instructional category. It's a pretty brief list this tonight. We have physical plant routine contracts and last policies. All right, no questions. That's what I like. So I'd like to call for a motion to approve consent agenda items 6 through 10 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Last call for questions. All right, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Oh, do we have Carlene online this evening or no? Okay, she wasn't sure she was going to be able to connect, and I neglected to double check. Okay, thanks. So Mr. Johnson has a few things to share after that vote.
I'm pleased to announce that the board has approved Lauren Crispel to be our new athletic director to succeed Chris Weekland, who's retiring in June. Lauren has been an outstanding job, has done an outstanding job as the assistant athletic director since 2017, and his stellar record makes him an ideal person to lead our athletic community and continue building the district's support for athletics. Lauren is here with us tonight. Please join me in congratulating him to his new position.
Yeah, we're excited to have you transition with Mr. Weekland. That'll be great. Next up, we have action items for this evening. We're going to start with a motion to approve Penn State Center for Education and Civil Rights and Dickinson Law Center for Immigrant Civil Rights MOU, as shown in attachment 11A.
So moved.
Colby, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Questions on this item? No? Okay, any public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that item is passed. We're going to move on to informational reports. We have several policy updates, and Ms. Simpson's going to provide an overview of these items. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Good evening. I don't think I've ever gotten to the table this quickly. I was like, oh, wait, it's my turn. Okay, so we have several policies for information and discussion tonight. 137.1, 137.2, and 137.3 all are related to home education students and allowing home education students equal opportunity to participate with other students who are enrolled full-time in the district. So if you have any questions about that. No questions? We had quite a bit of discussion at the policy committee meeting, so,
And they seem similar and aligned together, yeah.
yes.
Ms. Simpson,
Oh,
just for
hold on.
the,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Gretchen.
Oh, go ahead. You go first.
I was just gonna say, could you just very briefly say, can you just go through home education students can participate in extracurricular activities? Like, can you just
Sure.
recap
sure,
for the public?
Sure.
briefly?
137.1, participation in extracurricular activities, interscholastic athletics, and club sports by home education students. And then the next one, 137.2, is co-curricular activities and academic courses by home education students. And then 137.3 is participation in career and technical education programs by home education students.
So there are pathways for home education students to participate in all these programs.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, and there's statutory limitations as to the extent of like academic programs. I think it was like a quarter of a day, if I remember correctly, a quarter a day. So it lays out all those parameters for those homeschool students. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gretchen, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just had a question, and I think it pertains to some of these policies, but maybe not the first one, but there's a section, transportation, for example, in, I believe, 12B on page 3, and it says, a home education student may utilize district's transportation to or from school during the time a bus is otherwise already operating and space is available. Does that mean that if there's not enough spaces like on the bus, that priority is given to non-homeschool kids? And then if they have to choose between who's going to get one, does that mean that they're chosen last?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Priority is given to the students that attend the school.
Okay. Okay,
Better
thank you.
word.
Good?
I
Okay.
think so.
The next policy, 333, professional development. It contains our induction plan, our induction program. We added a trauma-informed approach education section. And we realized the tuition reimbursement section really didn't pertain. It was more of a procedural thing. So we added a section better to reflect the school code, which is professional education plan, which the district does comply with. So are there any questions on 333?
No, that was
No.
pretty straightforward.
Okay. Next policy, 808, for food services. This has not been revised in 25 years. So there are a lot of revisions. And we do have Megan Shaper online, as she is the food service director. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sure she'll be ready to answer those. The revisions are based on the school code, guidance from PDE, the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, and other applicable state and federal laws and regulations. So if you have any questions, I'm sure Megan will be able to explain.
Other board members?
No question, but thanks, Ms. Shaper, for all your work.
Yes, thanks, Megan.
Agreed. I really appreciate Megan's work. I did, since I wasn't at that policy, I'm no longer on policy committee, so I'm going to raise my question tonight. I really appreciated there was a link in the policy to our portion of the website about how to make payment for your student's account, which we offer a variety of. So certain secondary students can bring cash or check, and then we have an online platform to use. Primary students' parents can mail a check-in if they would like to not use the website portal. And I guess a question I would raise to the board is whether we want to talk about or consider whether we want to codify in policy that we will continue to maintain an opportunity for parents to pay outside of the portal. We've had some discussions and feedback from the community because there's a fee with that, but it lends a convenience, and there are safety and cybersecurity things that company needs to provide. So understandably, they have to charge for those services. And at this point, we still make sure we have an opportunity for families to have an option besides using that. One conversation would be, if we feel strongly enough, is that something we want to put into policy? And I would actually open that door and strongly encourage that we do that. Megan, would that cause any kind of impediments for you at this point in time and our current operationing status?
No. I think that would be fine. But one of the things, when I read through the new policy, I think so much of it refers back to following whatever USDA and the law dictates, because this program is so thoroughly covered by regulations. And there recently was a memo put out by USDA that seems to be leading that that's what they're going to be requiring as well. So, I mean, we could codify it as a board, but I think it's going to be coming down from USDA regardless.
Okay, well, I applaud USDA for doing that, but since we have community members read our policies and not always go out to search USDA stuff, I think it's worthwhile to put the language into our own policy. I'm getting a lot of nodding heads. Darren, do you have a question?
I actually had just pertaining to the payment. I know that we were saying that parents of elementary students can mail their checks in. I know that wasn't always the case because I know that, like, as a student myself, I used to be able to bring in it. I'm just wondering why secondary students can bring in checks, but elementary students, like, why is there a barrier for that?
So the reason we made that change, and it really was a function of the pandemic where we, couldn't take payments or didn't need to take payments because things were free. But what that made even more abundantly clear than what we knew before was processing payments at the elementary level took just a lot of time from the classroom teacher. It was the teacher who was actually collecting the checks and sending them to the cafeteria. Young students often would forget to get payments out of their backpack, or the checks would just get lost in the desk. And it was just administratively very hard to process at the elementary level. So it has just worked much more smoothly having people mail payments in or pay online.
Makes sense. I have high school students that still leave things in their bags, so I don't find that shocking. So,
Right.
Michelle, maybe you and Jeannie can work on just adding a clause in there that carries through that language into the policy. That would be great, Ad.
Sure.
Thanks. I appreciate that discussion very much.
Yep.
And so last you have opioid agonist, which is just some language change, it looks like.
Correct, just a language change. The policy was new in August of 2023.
Yeah. So instead of using that naloxone term, we're using a more general
That's
term,
right.
which is
Opioid.
what we did with our epinephrine policy. So
That's
we
correct.
learned our lessons.
We sure did, we sure did.
Great. That all seems pretty straightforward. Any other questions from board members on these new policy additions or changes?
We have a meeting tomorrow.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Michelle. Next on the agenda is an opportunity for board members to share updates on their committee initiatives. We'll start with Central Intermediate Unit and Anne.
So I wasn't at the last meeting, but because we had an event, we had the wonderful reading
Oh,
event.
that's right.
But I just looked at the notes, and I think the only kind of major issue, not issue, but progress note was moving forward on the new CIU 10 director search.
Yeah. So work is continuing on finding a new home, and we're ramping up to find a new director. That's the update.
Great.
They're also going to be using a search engine to find the new person to fill for that.
Makes sense. It's kind of a unique role. Okay, SCASD Education Foundation Liaison. Dan, have you had a meeting?
We have one Wednesday evening,
Okay.
but I've been paying attention to my emails. And I just want to remind everybody, we do have the 2025 Maroon and Gray celebration coming up in May. I believe tickets are available now. It's going out to the community via email. And then next board meeting, I'll have a better update.
Great. And I think we'll probably have some kind of link on our website to the Education Foundation site. And there's a lot of really interesting people from our community that will be honored in that process, including Marianne Montevino, who was a employee here in the district offices and also had served as the president of the education board for the last several years. So we're excited to see that happen. Next up, we have CTC Local Advisory Committee. Aaron, anything to share?
We have not had a meeting. I would just like to note that we are well into February, but that is Career and Technical Education Month. So thank a career and technical educator, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Moving on to Citizens Advisory Committee liaison reports. Athletics, I know Carlene isn't able to join us. And Dan, I don't know that you've attended. We may not have even had one recently because I think those are quarterly. But if there's anything to share, I'm sure she'll get back to us. I don't think we've had facilities, finance, Deb and Jackie, anything that since the last time you.
Quarterly.
That's what I thought. Okay. School health and safety, not yet, right? Wow, this is a really, really short list tonight. And our favorite, technology.
We haven't had our quarterly meeting yet.
All right. Wow. Are you board members? Are we doing it? We got to go do stuff. I know. I'm just joking. Yes. So that actually concludes our agenda for this evening. Looking at I'm going to try one more time. Looking ahead to future meetings, we have tomorrow, as Michelle mentioned, February 18th is going to be Policy Development Committee here in Panorama Village Boardroom at 1:30. Our next board meeting will be a board work session on goals and priorities. That's going to be February 24th at Panorama Village Boardroom here at 4 p.m., so that's a different time than typical. March 3rd is Committee of the Whole and regular board meeting, and that is at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom. And with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. Thanks, everyone, for attending, and have a good evening.